The year is 1941 and World War II is raging on. There are shootings and bombings everywhere, and many people have lost all hope. However, high in the skies there are secret weapons. Now these weapons are not what you would expect. They are not specialized planes or helicopters, they are birds, pigeons to be specific. During World War II, communication technologies were not developed enough for everyone to have access to them. The first commercial television, the RCA 630TS, started selling in 1946 and was too expensive for most people to purchase, costing more than a car. And in a time such as World War II, where intelligence agencies needed to know the Nazi status in small villages and far-off countries, there needed to be a way to communicate fast. That's where Operation Columbo comes in. The word Columbo is Latin for dove, and in Christianity, the dove is a symbol of the Holy Spirit, love, and peace. Because of this, many saints were given the name Columbo, most notably an Irish monk who is told to have brought Christianity to Scotland. Columbo is also a genus of birds. These birds are your common street pigeon. You might never take a second glance at a pigeon eating a few scraps of food, but if you need the pure superpowers these birds have, you might just turn around and take a second glance. These birds can fly over 400 miles in less than a day, and in the Second World War, this capability came in extremely handy. Operation Columbo operated under the section of the government M14-1D, a less commonly known section of government. Columbo was formed in 1940 during World War II as an effort to defeat Hitler. The aim was to collect information using homing pigeons that would benefit the British. On April 8th, the first birds of Operation Columbo were dropped from a plane with small parachutes attached to them. They then started their slow descent to rural Europe, mainly France, Belgium, and the Netherlands. The birds were provided mostly by British pigeon fanciers, seeing as Operation Columbo hadn't set up a breeding program yet. The first drop had one goal: to gather intelligence from people living under Nazi rule. They wanted information about a planned attack on England, information on the troops in the area, the effect of the bombs that were being dropped, and if listeners could hear BBC radio clearly. Some say the drop was the easiest part of the mission, because whatever happened next was completely up to fate. There were 4 options for the bird after it landed. It could never be found and die in its crate. It could be found by a local who would fill out the information and send it back to the British. The Germans could find it and send back false information. Or it could be found by a hungry individual and become dinner. Despite the odds, there were still many found pigeons that carried crucial information. Since these birds are so fast, information could be brought back to the British within days or even hours. That was the case for the first message back. The first message was from a man living in the rural part of France. The letter started with the date and time, found Wednesday 9th at 8 a.m. It then went on to give crucial information such as, the German troops always move at night, and the RAF, or the Royal Air Force, have never bombed these parts. This was just the start though. The British received piles and piles of useful information. The least useful being casualty reports. Some of the information, however, was hard to read. One French farmer wrote, "I would ask you, my friends, to warn the population a few minutes before the bombing because you kill many civilians who are your friends. Very few Germans get killed. It is nearly always the civilians who suffer from your aircraft. If you circle before dropping your bombs, the population would have time to withdraw from the town, thus avoiding many French victims. You must spare your friends and kill the Germans." His message ended with a plea for help and a request for guns and ammunition dropped by parachute. The information was extremely useful, and the British were pleased that operation was a success, with one flaw. The problem with Operation Columbo was that it took the lives of thousands of pigeons. By the end of this operation, a total of 250,000 pigeons had been put into the war, with a 50% success rate. However, many say it was worth the sacrifices to receive the valuable information. The pigeons did not only deliver valuable information, they also saved lives. One pigeon named G.I. Joe saved over 100 lives when he flew 20 miles in 20 minutes. An Italian village named Calvi Vesiccia had been liberated from German powers far earlier than expected, and the RAF were planning on that same day to bomb the village to fight off the Germans. The leader of the RAF was caught off guard. He didn't want their forces to get caught in the crossfire. He then sent out a pigeon to try and call off the attack. The pigeon, now named G.I. Joe, flew 20 miles in 20 minutes and successfully called off the attack. He later received the PSDA Dickin Medal, a medal awarded to incredible animals. The man awarding the medal to him said, "This bird is credited with making the most outstanding flight by a U.S. Army pigeon throughout the whole of World War II." G.I. Joe is not the only heroic pigeon, though. There have been many more heroic pigeons throughout history, like Winky the pigeon. On February 23, 1942, an RAF bomber plane was hit. It started quickly falling to the ocean and landed in the waters 100 miles from their destination. It seemed to the crew that they would die unless they did something quick. They then remembered their pigeon, Winky. All RAF crews routinely carried homing pigeons in case they got stranded. They sent Winky off to get help, and after flying 120 miles in a matter of hours, she returned to the RAF headquarters where the general found her and sent out a team to locate the downed RAF bomb squad. They found them within 15 minutes, and Winky was too honored with the PSDA medal. In the Second World War, homing pigeons played a crucial role of allowing people miles away to communicate. They saved lives and even helped prepare for the D-Day landings by identifying the disposition of the Nazis. With great victory, however, there was also a great loss. A total of 16,554 pigeons were launched into rural Europe alone, and with a 50% success rate, over 8,000 birds failed their mission or perished. However, homing pigeons greatly impacted World War II for the better. To quote Gordon Carrera, the author of Operation Columbo, the secret pigeon service, "Birds didn't win the war, people did, but the birds of Operation Columbo certainly played their part."